Hey there, and welcome. So, what if the best way to improve teaching wasn't about top-down evaluations, but about looking sideways? Today, we're diving into a really cool program from the King's local school district. It's built on a simple but pretty powerful idea. The greatest professional development resource a teacher has is the teacher in the classroom right next door. Let's dive in and see how they're actually pulling this off.
Okay, so this whole thing kicks off at the King's local school district, home of the Knights. Their motto is a great place to live, learn, work, and grow. And, they've really taken that last word, grow, to heart and applied it in a fascinating way, not just for the students, but for the teachers themselves.
I mean, it's the big question in education, right? How do you take teachers who are already great at what they do and help them get even better? Well, the King's District thinks the answer isn't just about more training manuals, it's about a total shift in perspective. All right, so how does this whole thing actually work? Well, we're going to break it down into 5 parts. First, we'll look at the strategic blueprint that kind of sets the stage. Then we'll get into what a community classroom even is, cover the ground rules, walk through what a tour looks like, and finally, check out the really unique way they handle feedback. Right, so first things first, this community classroom idea didn't just pop up out of nowhere. It's actually built on top of a much bigger district-wide strategy for growth. And that strategy is built on 3 key pillars. Let's take a quick look at them. So, the foundation for all of this, it's what they called the culture blueprint. The goal here is to really strengthen the entire learning community. We're talking students, teachers, parents, everyone, by setting up clear standards on values and behaviors. It's all about getting everyone on the same page with a shared language and a clear vision for what excellence looks like. Then, you've got what they call the Power 5 future skills. And this is all about getting students ready for a world that's, changing super fast. They're focusing on things like communication, critical thinking, problem solving, and collaboration. It's about skills, not just subjects.
And rounding it all out is the third pillar, personalized learning. This is just a fantastic example of their commitment to tweaking the learning environment for each student's unique skills and interests, and really empowering them to take charge of their own education. So you see, these 3 big ideas create the perfect environment for something like the community classroom to really take root and thrive.
Okay, so with that bigger picture in mind, let's get to the main event. What is a community classroom, really? This is where it all starts to click. It's a complete shift in how teachers observe and, more importantly, learn from each other.
And here it is, the absolute most important part to get. This is not an evaluation. It's a growth experience. Teachers literally walk into a colleague's room with just one goal in mind, to see the lesson through the eyes of a student and find cool, effective strategies they can borrow and use themselves. The whole program is just steeped in positivity. And these words here, connection, gratitude, and appreciation, they aren't just feel-good buzzwords. They're the actual ingredients you need to build the trust that lets teachers learn from each other openly without feeling judged. Now, to make sure that positive, safe environment is protected, the district got really smart. They created a super clear set of rules for everyone involved. They call them the shared agreements, and honestly, they're the secret sauce that makes this whole thing possible. Okay, so there are 3 main agreements here. Stronger together, that's all about making each other better and really listening, which ties right into their value of relate. Then there's own your response, which is about investing in yourself and respecting every person, fueling their value to create. And finally, growth drives dreams, which is about taking on challenges and actually using feedback, a direct line to innovate. It's just this really slick, integrated system. All right, so we've covered the what and the why. Now it's time to get into the how. What does one of these community classroom tours actually look and feel like for the teachers who are part of it? The whole thing is broken down into 4 pretty clear steps. First, there's the opener, where everyone gets on the same page about the rules and the mindset. Next up are the actual classroom visits, where they see the teaching happen. That's followed by a super important debrief to share what they saw, and it all wraps up with a closer, where everyone pinpoints real things they can take back to their own classroom. Look, for something like this to work, you absolutely have to guarantee psychological safety. A few non-negotiable rules make that happen. The focus is always on what the students are doing in learning. And this one is huge. Feedback has to be positive. You respect the schedule, and you share notes quickly. The whole setup is designed to make teachers feel supported, not like they're under a microscope. And that brings us to what might just be the most powerful piece of this whole puzzle, the feedback. The language they use in these debrief sessions is so carefully designed to be constructive, supportive, and frankly, inspiring.
Just take a look at this sample prompt for feedback. Notice how it doesn't start with, well, here's what you could have done better. It starts with empowerment. The entire point is about how seeing a colleague nail something can directly boost another teacher's confidence. That right there, that's the real, tangible result they're going for.
You see, it's the whole philosophy behind the feedback that makes it work so well. It is always, always learner-centered. The idea isn't to talk about what the adult observer liked. No, it's about zeroing in on the positive stuff you can actually see happening with the students. This keeps the feedback specific, objective, and genuinely useful.
So, as we wrap things up here, it's really worth thinking about how this idea could apply outside of a school. These principles, shifting from evaluation to learning, giving structured positive feedback, creating a culture of shared growth, they're incredibly powerful. So I'll just leave you with this question. What could your workplace, your team, or even your own personal growth learn from a community classroom?